So in part 2 I'm going to show some examples of using masked decals. So I've just downloaded a couple of different random images off Google. So we'll start with this one here first. It's just graffiti. Now you might notice in this one, wherever this is taken from, you can sort of see it looks to me like it's kind of the concrete in the back. Some of these look like lines that are part of the artwork, but I'm not too sure. It looks like it's the blocks or whatever it is shown through on the wall that this was painted on in real life. So you know, you can come in here with the clone stamp tool and prepare this to get a better setup for an albedo map. So it does, or else you could leave these details on it. It's entirely up to you. So we wanted a clone stamp and just paint out some of this detail that's shown through here. So we just grab the clone stamp tool, and then you can just hold down Alt and just you know, come in and just paint that out, or whatever way you wanted to do it. It's not essential. These are just really for examples, so you, as I say, you can prepare your image how you like. This is more about the process of using masked decals. So the first thing we'll do here is just grab the magic wand and get rid of all the extraneous. So get rid of that black, and then get rid of the green, and see the tolerance here in the magic wand, and just up that. We'll see what 50 will do for us, and you can just start selecting and deleting all those bits that we don't want. Any of that green, and you can actually see here that green is whatever the background painted wall, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, it is that concrete I was talking about. So, but as well, like for something like this, you know, you might be adding dirt and grunge and that sort of stuff over it, or you know, you can still paint over this in Photoshop here to give you more detail. I'm just going to drop that down maybe to 10 now, and rid of those couple of pixels, and just get rid of this stuff here. You can also just erase this out or whatever. Use any of the selection tools in Photoshop, the polygonal lasso or the pen tool or whatever. But this will do here for the moment. So just a couple of pixels there. Right, so let's say we're happy with that. It's a little bit jagged, but it's not too bad. As I said, you might you know, dirty up or scuff up some of these edges. So I'll do me here for the example. So now with that isolated, we can just control click here, and that'll give us a selection around the outline, and then you can just press the mask button down here, and that'll give us a mask. So now we can just control click on the mask and C, control C to copy into channels, new channel, okay, and just paste, and that'll paste our alpha in there. And now the last thing you want to do is to give it some sort of color around the outside of this, just in case there's any bleed over from the opacity map. So in this case there's not really a single color we can choose, so I might just press I for color picker and choose something, maybe that blue there, and just alt backspace to fill the background layer, and see how that works. So file, save as, and you want to save it as a targa, and yes, and you want to save it as 32 bits per pixel. That'll store the alpha channel, because each channel RGB have 8 bits, so that's 8, 16, 24, and then 32, that's the extra 8 for the alpha channel. So just make sure to store that, and that'll be stored within the texture sample in Unreal, and we can just drag out from the alpha channel. So it's essentially texture packed, I suppose, so you don't have two separate textures. So now I'll just import this into Unreal. So I've imported this texture into Unreal, and here's our empty decal material, the same way as we set up in the first part, Deferred Decal, translucent, and just debuffer translucent color, because we're just going to use the color map. So as usual, just drag that in there, and now if I double click this, you can see if we turn off RGB that there's our alpha channel there. So I can close that down, and that's just one way of checking your texture packing within Unreal. And just double click, and then on the view drop down you can check the individual channels. So some of these channels, if you look through them, you know, that's the blue channel there. You could even use that as a roughness map if you wanted to, without having to do any extra work. So we'll just close that down, and now we want to just pipe these in, base color, and the bottom one here is our alpha channel, and we want to drop that into opacity, and just move out of the way and apply that, and there's our decal. And as I was saying from the first part, because this is only set up for color, the roughness of the wall and also the normal map is shown through. So in this case you would want that because it's painted onto the wall, so it's going to show through, and you know, you get away with not having to paint out all those details from the actual photo, because the wall that this is on, you know, kind of overrides that detail. You can't even see it. But if it was on more of a blank sort of a wall, you know, you might want it because it looks a bit strange. So that would be, you know, that would be obviously up to yourself. So that's basically how you do that. Just a simple example there. And obviously, yeah, it's a decal, so put it wherever you like. Scale it, rotate it. So in this example we'll set up like a dripping stains, or stains from, you know, dripping down a wall or whatever, and these type of decals are very handy. You know, you could have grime at the end of a wall, or you know, dirt, you know, coming down the top where rain has leaked down or whatever and stained the wall. So these are very handy. If you have a couple of these, you can put them in all around your level on walls that are exactly the same meshes, and kind of give some variation and break up the fact that they're just repetitive meshes. So over this one here, you can I'll just grab this image, pretty straightforward. Did a bit of clone stamping just to fill in a few gaps here and there, and then an easy way to select this stuff here is just select color range, and then you can just click on these different values, and then you get a preview here, and then you can mess with this fuzziness to, you know, to bring it in or out more or less. So let's say we're happy with that, and that'll automatically select that for us. And now just do the same thing as the last example. Click on the mask here, and that's just going to isolate what we want. So our stains. So just control click on that layer mask to give us that selection over the channels, and then with that selected you can just create a mask here, and that'll automatically give us an alpha channel. We can deselect that, and we have our alpha channel now. So back to layers, and just double click on that background layer, convert it to a normal layer, and now we just press I again for the color picker, and just select, as we did, one of these colors, and Alt backspace, and that's it. Then save as, target again, just save over this one, stain, and 32 bits per pixel again. So I have a blank decal material set up here, and I've just brought in that stain map, and you can see here, you can just view through the channels, and indeed we have our alpha channel. So I'll just drag that stain texture across and just connect it up, base color and our alpha channel to the opacity, and just apply that. And you can see, you know, how useful this might be around your level. And I could even scale it in, scale it down, you know, and then you can hold down Alt and just duplicate it, sort of overlap them even to give you even more variation. Or even rotate it around 180, and maybe scale it up, move it down, so you can overlap these, as saying, and get sort of even with one decal, same as you do with modular rocks or something, where you'll keep rotating them and scaling them to make them look different. So you can see where this might be very useful. You could even make like a sort of a grime texture for the bottom of the wall, and then also put it on the ground, so you would have sort of grime between the ground and, or even if you had, say, a pipe or something running along here, you could make some of these textures to have dust in behind the pipe, or whatever way you wanted to do it. And as I said in the first video, they're relatively cheap. So that's that example. We'll move on to the last one now. So just before we move on to that last example, another thing you can do is just hold down 1 and click, hold down M and click. What you can do here is we can just multiply the opacity by a value, in this case 0 to 1, and if I apply that now, the value is at 0, it's going to be invisible. So I can put it to 0.5, and now it'll be, you know, not as strong an effect as obviously if it's set to 1. So that's just another way you could control it here, and also you could vary the difference, so you could have, you know, some of them all at different sort of strengths here, or different opacities, and then you could also multiply in different colors over the base color to change the hue. You could make it more dusty or darker, more grimy, or whatever. So, and it won't cost you an extra draw calls, because it's going to be a vector 3, a solid color you could multiply in, rather than creating more and more textures and more decal materials in Photoshop. So yeah, that's it. Then I'll move on to the last example. So the last example is a rather humorous World War II propaganda poster. I don't really need to explain it. I'm sure you can get the connotations. So for this one here, I was just gonna, you know, say this was a poster on the wall, and then you could just take your paint brushes and chip away at it, and select paintbrush. You know, so you just take whatever choice of brushes, and where's that chalky one gone? Chalk. Let's drop that down, and usually you do this with a mask. Back to the paintbrush, and black to chip away, and opacity's at 100. So you just basically just chipping away the edges here of the poster, using whatever brushes. So I'm not going to spend ages going around and doing this in the video. sure I'm on the mask, because it's going to get pretty tedious. But you get the idea, you know. You can just choose whatever brushes, choose whatever brush you want, and just chip away in whatever sort of way takes your fancy. And then, as you saw there, I have these big grunge overlays, so you could use them then whatever way you like, and I'll sort of make it look a bit older. So I'm going to pause this and go around and chip away a bit there and come back then. So once you've done that, and you've done a way better job than I've done, you can just apply, right click on this mask and just apply the layer mask. And now if we control click on this, it'll give us our selection, and then we can go to channels, and then just click on the mask, and that'll give us our mask like the other examples as well. So now we can just file, save as, and target again. We'll just call it poster, and 32 bits per channel again, and same thing again, rinse and repeat back in. So I've done the exact same thing and just hooked up our opacity and our base color, and there's our decal poster. And you might notice that it's back to front, and that's because, if you remember, we rotated this one. So obviously if there's going to be text, and I don't know what happened there, sorry, I don't know what the hell's going on there. I'm just going to do that again, just take it around to 180. So obviously if there's going to be text around like that and you rotate it, that's going to happen because it's just, you know, it's a mirrored, so it's backwards on that side, obviously because of the text. So just something to bear in mind. Yep, so that's it then. And I didn't go over too much. I did in the first part, alright, but if you want to check out the first part, this is just giving more examples of what you can do. So you could turn this to color and roughness, and then I could just press 1 just to get a scalar value, plug it into the roughness, and at 0 you'll see that's going to be completely reflective, so it's overriding the walls roughness. You can see there from different angles it's going to be reflective, and normal of the wall is coming through, which in this case is good because it's sort of like it just gives it a bit more grimed. I suppose if it was painted on like the graffiti it would make more sense, but with a poster maybe not. So you could just create a normal map with sort of, you know, paint swirls in it or whatever, and just override that by just setting that to color normal and roughness. I'll even, just as an example, look for a texture in here. Maybe probably won't be anything here. Concrete poured, we just, no, that's probably already on the wall. Rocky frame, ground grass, ground moss. So I'll just take this one just as an example and just plug it in there, apply that, and you know, it's obviously crazy because of what it is, but you get the idea. So, you know, if you did have a suitable texture, I'm just still looking down here for one. I don't think there's any without good point. No, there's not. So if you had a suitable kind of a canvas texture or paint swirls or whatever, you could use that. So that's pretty much it for decals and the different sort of ones that you can set up, and how simple they are to set up, and how useful they can be. So those modes, you know, you can play around with them and mix and match. The first part, they go over them a bit more, and then there's a missive as well, so you could have like a sort of a neon sign, and then you could set it to a missive, and it would emit light obviously in the scene, but it would just be a decal. Alright then, I think that's enough for this, and I'll leave it at that. Alright then, I hope this was helpful. Cheers, thanks, good luck.